welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to break down the absolutely crucial personal finance rules that, well, traditional education completely missed. You know the drill. We're told to go get educated, get a good job, and everything will just magically fall into place. But as we all quickly discover, it really isn't that simple. Personal finance is the absolute backbone of almost every success story out there, and yet it's pretty much entirely absent from the standard school curriculum.
So let's kick things off by being brutally honest with ourselves for a second. What did you actually learn about personal finance in college? Like, did you genuinely learn the ins and outs of credit, investing, and how to actually manage money? Or did you just take the mandatory classes you needed to graduate? You know, things like calculus, astronomy, or anthropology. For most of us, the longer we're out of school, the more frustrated we get about the real-world financial survival skills that were just completely left out of our education. To save you from having to learn these lessons the hard way, because trust me, financial mistakes are incredibly costly, we've organized this explainer into a structured 4-part masterclass. We'll be covering income, taxes, and budgeting, navigating debt and credit, protecting your financial future, and finally, growing your wealth.
All right, let's jump right into Chapter 1, Income, Taxes, and Budgeting. This is all about what you actually get to keep.
Look, before you accept any job offer or even price a product you're trying to sell, you have to understand the invisible hand that takes a cut before you ever even see a single dime. A $35,000 salary in Manhattan might sound decent on paper, right? But that number shrinks dramatically once Uncle Sam steps in. You're actually looking at a take-home pay of around $26,399. You absolutely must calculate your net income first, so you actually know if it's going to cover your living expenses.
And how does this play out when you get a raise? Say you get a sweet $6,000 bump, going from $35,000 to $41,000 a year. You're probably doing the math in your head, thinking, awesome, an extra $500 a month. But reality check. Because of marginal tax rates, that raise actually only puts an extra $345 in your pocket each month. Grasping this concept early on totally prevents you from overestimating your new spending power.
Now, to manage that income without stressing over every single penny, you need a solid system. Let's be real, nobody actually enjoys tracking every cent they spend. It's exhausting. Instead, try these 3 steps of tactical budgeting. First, identify what you absolutely need every month. Next, map out those needs and wants over a longer 6-month timeline. And finally, separate those amounts into completely different accounts. It's a game changer that keeps you from overspending without making you feel like a full-time accountant.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, Navigating Debt and Credit. It's time to talk about managing what you owe. Managing what you owe is literally just as vital as managing what you earn. And school rarely prepares us for the heavy burden of debt, which ironically usually starts with the institution of school itself. It's a staggering reality that 85% of new grads feel totally crushed by student loans the second they enter the workforce. But listen, you don't have to be part of that statistic. There are highly effective alternatives to that expensive 4-year private university path. You could start at a community college, work while studying, enroll part-time, or seek out affordable institutions that actively help you avoid massive debt. You really should only take on massive student loans if you're entering a practically guaranteed, highly lucrative career path.
Now, once you're out in the real world, society loves to tell young people that credit cards are purely evil and should be avoided like the plague. But take this story about a guy named Kevin. He avoided getting a credit card entirely after graduating, totally thinking he was being the responsible one. But when he finally went to buy a car and a house, he was shocked when he couldn't get a loan approved. Why? Because he had absolutely zero established credit history. Avoiding credit completely actually destroys your ability to build the credit score you need for those major adult purchases. You see, financial institutions need to see a track record of you borrowing money and paying it back reliably before they give you a good score, which then unlocks better loan amounts and interest rates down the line. So what's the golden rule to safely build that credit score without falling into a debt trap? It's super simple. If money is due today, make sure you pay it today. Seriously, it is non-negotiable.
Okay, Chapter 3, Protecting Your Financial Future. This is where we build your financial fortress.
Building wealth, honestly, means nothing if a single stroke of bad luck can wipe it all out in a day. You need an impenetrable financial fortress. Ask yourself right now, what would actually happen if you lost your job today? Could you cover your costs? It's wild, but recent statistics show that up to 40% of Americans cannot even pull together the funds to cover a $400 emergency. That is a terrifying position to be in, and it just highlights how much we underestimate the need for liquid, easily accessible cash.
To keep yourself out of that danger zone, your absolute first goal has to be saving at least 6 months of living expenses. This is the ultimate golden rule of emergencies. Keep it tucked away in a safe, separate place to cushion yourself against life's completely unpredictable curveballs, whether that's a sudden job loss, a blown transmission, or an unexpected cross-country move. And honestly, if you can stash away even more than 6 months, do it.
Next up, you've got to protect your assets with the right insurance. Because, let's face it, there's a ton of terrible advice out there. A huge myth is that you should always buy whole life insurance. The reality? It's way more practical to prioritize term life insurance. And really, you only need it if you actually have financial dependents, like a kid, a spouse, or an aging parent. If no one depends on your income, you can end the policy and keep that money. Oh, and always shop around for umbrella policies that bundle your home, car, and health coverage for a sweet discount.
And speaking of health coverage, do not forget that taking care of your physical health is arguably the single most effective form of financial protection you have. A totally simple hospital visit for, say, a fractured knee can cost thousands and thousands of dollars without insurance. Beyond getting a solid medical plan ASAP, taking proactive care of yourself, eating right, staying active, and avoiding excessive drinking literally saves you from crippling medical debt down the road. Health is quite literally wealth, guys.
And finally, Chapter 4, Growing Your Wealth. It is time to start playing offense.
So now we shift gears from playing defense to aggressively growing your net worth over time. Conventional wisdom often tells you to just save 10% of your income. But let's be totally honest here. Unless you are pulling in millions of dollars a year, 10% is just a starting point. Thinking that's enough to retire on is a massive myth. The real-world reality for those of us living on a regular paycheck is that you actually need to be putting away 25 to 40% of your income to retire comfortably. And you do that by ruthlessly cutting out unnecessary daily expenses, like finally trading that daily overpriced coffee for a high-interest savings account.
Here's another huge societal myth: buying your first home. Traditional advice screams from the rooftops that you must always save a 20% down payment to avoid paying private mortgage insurance. But the real estate reality of the last decade paints a very different picture. We've seen rapid home price appreciation mixed with widespread wage stagnation. If you sit around waiting to save a massive 20% lump sum, housing prices might shoot up so fast that you're just forever chasing a moving target.
So, the actionable rule to follow here is what we call the 5-year home rule. Take a look at your savings capacity over a 5-year window. If you can comfortably save that 20% within 5 years, fantastic, do it. But if it's going to take you much longer, you have to accept a realistic financial trade-off. Sometimes paying a little bit of private mortgage insurance today is a way smarter move than getting completely priced out of the housing market tomorrow.
All right, now for our final and honestly most powerful point: compound interest. Think about this. If someone offered you option A, a cool $3,000 in cash right now, or option B, a single penny that doubles in value every other day, most people instinctively grab the $3,000. I mean, it makes sense, right? But if you actually do the math, that doubling penny grows to a mind-blowing $10 million after just 30 days. Letting a tiny amount of money double repeatedly creates massive exponential wealth.
The power of compound interest is pretty much the best-kept secret in finance, and it is the absolute ultimate advantage for young people. Why? Because the one asset you have way more of than anyone else is time. By starting early and just setting aside small chunks of money in high-yield investments, you are leveraging time to do all the heavy lifting for your financial independence.
Well, we've covered the whole shebang: income, debt, protection, and growth, the real curriculum for financial success. Thanks so much for joining me in this explainer today. I really hope this roadmap helped clarify the steps you need to take. So I'm going to leave you with one final question to kickstart your own journey toward financial mastery. Now that you know the rules they hid from you, what is the very first step you will take today to rewrite your financial future?